Good morning, everybody. This is Reverend Sam Lopez from Amazing Love Sanctuary here on a beautiful Sunday morning. It's the first day of, well, it's actually the 12th of March. We just started the day with uh, daylight saving time. And if you're like me, like most of most of us, I really don't settle well with daylight saving time. It is really stressful for me. I had to get up early and take Wendy to work, and I jumped out of bed when the alarm went off and went into the kitchen and to make the coffee. And then I saw that it was on the clock in the kitchen. It was 4:15 instead of 5:15, and I headed back to bed. And then I realized I didn't reset the clocks on the coffee pot or the microwave or whatever it is that you do. So now we have cell phones, so you never even have to touch it. But we still have the few of us old timers still have a few clocks hanging around, and but here we are. So it's I got up, I went outside, and it's beautiful. Birds are singing. It's warming up here in Denver, and it just felt different. There was something new and something fresh in the air, and I was really happy to be a part of that. It was just an incredible thing to walk outside and see that. But so it's been a weird week, weird month actually. So I spent 30 days on Facebook probation, so we couldn't get our weekly broadcast on Facebook in any way because I was on probation, so we were not allowed to. And everything that I do, from personal ministry to wedding business to church sermons, or we were just blocked from Facebook, so we could not get onto Facebook. We have a YouTube channel and everything's recorded over there, and then we just move it back and forth. We could do that, but there was a lot of restrictions, and it felt really weird. And so I've been thinking a lot about what that brought up in me and brought up in our work and ministry. And I wanted to just share some thoughts about that because it really kind of made me feel out of touch and out of sync with everybody. So here we are. We're back on. We're able to get back on here and share some thoughts and everything. But we have to be accountable to something. And some people get really angry when they're put on any kind of restrictions or probation, or people call it Facebook jail, and that was the first time that's ever happened to me. But I wasn't completely blocked out of it, but it was definitely something. It had an impact on me, so it made me start to think about what we were trying to accomplish and what really is important to us here at Amazing Love Sanctuary. And it was really a challenge. So I wanted to get back here to our core mission, our core vision. For a minute, I got kind of really, and I go on these little bits and pieces of stuff where I want to make some political comments or commentary, and I always get checked on that by especially some of my really good friends, my loving friends, who just say, "Hey, Pastor Sam, Reverend Sam, that's just not you." And so I always get checked on that, and I have to kind of rein myself in and get back on track with what's important. But before we get started, I wanted to share a prayer on unconditional love. And that's kind of been the core of my message for so long, unconditional love. And I just don't think there's enough of it. There's not enough of those messages to go around, and I'll share some more thoughts on that. And I just want to start off with a prayer on unconditional love, and this is from Progressive Prayers for Progressive People. I'll show that book to you. It's real simple. I guess you can't see it. There we go. Progressive Prayers for Progressive People. I really like it. It's authored by Mark Sandlin, a really great progressive minister. And I'll start off. In a world where you can both love your family and love peanut butter cup ice cream, not my favorite, but it can be difficult to truly understand the love we are called to practice. With so many ideas of understandings of love, we provide ourselves with a buffet of choices for how to treat our neighbor and still believe we are treating them with love. May we be reminded that Jesus was never so broad in his definition of love. He taught us to care for those in need, period. To bind up the brokenhearted, period. To feed those who were hungry, to clothe those who were naked, to visit those in prison, period. No ifs, ands, or buts. And just in case we didn't understand what love looks like, he showed us. No greater love has anyone than this, than they lay down their lives for their friends. Love, true love, the love which we are called and are about which Jesus taught us, knows no bounds and sets no limits. May we be moved to be more loving with each person we meet, to show more love to those in need, and to share our love in ways that help this world become a better place. And when our earthly desires and our human instincts get in the way and tell us to protect what we have, even as others have all too little, may we be inspired to a life that practices love more unconditionally. Wow. That's a powerful statement. What does unconditional love mean to us? Why is it such a struggle? I'm always reminded in my own life, my own encounters, where I fall dramatically short as a human being, as a pastor. I fall short of what I really truly believe unconditional love should be. I fall way short of what I feel like I want to accomplish and what I want to demonstrate in my own life. And we fail miserably. I fail miserably. I'm constantly reminded of my preaching and teaching on unconditional love, and people are like, hey, Reverend Sam, Pastor Sam, remember that thing you talked about, unconditional love? You're not practicing it. I'm always the first one who is well aware of my own failings and shortcomings of what I believe love should be and what it isn't. Unconditional love is a struggle. It's a painful thing. It's hard to do because it's easy to judge others. It's easy to be critical. It's easy to point a finger at somebody else because they're different, or they believe different, or they look different, or they practice their religion or faith different from you, because they love somebody different than you would love. It's a strange issue for us who are passionate about unconditional love and total acceptance. Because the religious community, the church community, is so unforgiving. So this past week, I picked up a couple books. Let me show them to you. Let's see here. Here we go. So I picked up a book called Jesus Unbound. I got to get rid of this screen. There we go. Jesus Unbound, by Keith Giles. And powerful book. You got to read it. That one wasn't so bad. But this one, can you see that? Let's see here. There we go. What's it called? Let's see here. Can't see it. There we go. White Christian Privilege, I think is what it says. White Christian Privilege. And man, did I get blasted by people for picking up two progressive books, one dealing with critical race theory and a perspective on Black America and the treatment of Black Americans in the Christian church and dealing with white nationalism. And I got just raked over the coals, called a heretic, called a racist, and what a shameful thing. It broke my heart. Especially there was somebody in there that I really had to, I tried to communicate with, who I've known his family and family's ministry for a long time. And he just became so critical and angry and bitter that I had to really pull the plug on that relationship on Facebook. And I think that, that sounds so stupid. I had to unfriend somebody, I had to block somebody over unconditional love and acceptance. I don't get it. What does it take to love like Jesus loved? What does it take to be a follower of Jesus without having to fit into anybody else's idea, but just to read the words of Jesus and endeavor with everything in you to follow Jesus? Sometimes we're so engaged in the idea of deconstruction, and we try to deconstruct everything so completely. But I believe we've been called to love. So I just try to, it's not a matter of me even trying to deconstruct that as much as a matter of me trying to practice that. How do I release myself? How do I give of myself? How do I set myself free to meet other people's needs however I can? How do I do that? How do I release myself to speak into people's lives and demonstrate love to them even when love doesn't come back? Ministering to people is a challenge. But I've learned this about ministry. Ministry is simply serving people with love. There are people out there who hate church. They've been so beat up and bruised and traumatized by bad church leaders and unaccountable church leaders and cruel churches and legalistic churches. They've been so traumatized by that. They hate church, but what they need, what they want, is unconditional love. And the sad part is Many people in that situation will not find unconditional love in a lot of churches. What sense would it make to invite a person to a church that hates them? Why would you invite somebody to a church that hates who they are, who they love, what they believe, that hates them because they look different, believe different? What sense would that make? Why is it so hard for the church, for churches, to give what people really need? Love, unconditional love, is just love with no strings attached. How many people get that when they go to a church? They go in there and they're expected to adhere to some belief system or doctrinal statement. But what if they just came and they just needed love? What if someone it would be to me an example of if somebody was sick and you tried to take them to the hospital and the hospital said, no, they're not sick enough. They need to go home and do whatever they need to do to get better on their own. And if it doesn't work out, then bring them back. If someone is sick, they go to the hospital. And at least here, you can walk into a hospital, into an emergency room, and see a doctor. But here's the bad part. Here's the part that really makes me crazy. I personally feel that it's unethical when churches try to con a person into coming to church with flowery language and flowery invitations, trying to make a friend out of them with only one purpose: to convert them. Kind of luring a person into church so the church can look good, pat itself on the back, compare itself with other churches in their community. But see, here's when it comes to unconditional love, we're not in competition with anyone. We don't need to understand methods. We don't even represent who we are. We don't have to try to mask who we really are, what we're trying to accomplish, what we're trying to do. Every time we connect with a person in the church, in the presence of the church, every time we connect with another person, it should be authentic. We try to get people into our churches so we can, in a lot of churches, to get them saved. So they'll say a special prayer so that they'll get to heaven. But those motives aren't pure. Even when our motives are pure, sometimes the methods are wrong. We look at our religion as better than other religions. We try to get people to God, and then we have things all backwards. All we care about is what they believe. Bringing God to people means we bring God to people where they're at. When we reach out, and we need to see ourselves this way. reaching out to them. Think of the story, and I've used this story over and over again, of the prodigal son. This is a perfect example of unconditional love. And I love to kind of expound on this because I think it's so powerful and it's so moving for us. And we forget what that really means. So the son wakes up one day and says to God, or to the father, to his father, and says, I want everything that's mine. I want everything that's coming to me. I want my inheritance now. I'm going to go live my life. I'm sure it was very much more difficult than the way it's expressed in just a short story in the Bible. But ultimately, I'm sure this son probably pestered and pestered and bugged and bugged and bugged his father. And he gave in. The father gave the son his inheritance. And Jesus tells the story. He goes off, does whatever he wants, lives a wild and crazy life, winds up flat broke. He winds up taking a job feeding pigs. Doesn't pay well because the only food he can afford is what he's feeding the pigs. And he wakes up one day, the son comes to himself and says, I'm going to go home. I'm going to apologize to my father. I'm going to ask him to forgive me. And I'm going to go home and I just want to be one of his servants. That's better than being in my current state. There's a backstory to this, two of them actually. There's the father who let his son go, and every day is waiting for that son to come home. Every day. And then there's another brother who didn't take his inheritance, and everything that was left that was the father's now goes to the other son. And that's another story. But I love this story of the son who comes home. And every day the father is waiting for his son to come home. And one day he does, and the father runs and he welcomes him home and he brings him back and he throws a party and puts a robe on him and a ring and just restores him to his rightful relationship as a loved son, a forgiven, loved son, without ever even having to ask for it. Because the son in his mind was like, well, I'm going to go home. I'm going to apologize. I'm going to ask my father to forgive me. I'm going to repent. He never got the chance because he was welcomed home. That was the demonstration of authentic love with no strings attached. Just come home. As we come close to Easter, a couple things come to my mind about what Easter should be. Easter, above all else, should be the demonstration of unconditional love, total acceptance, and complete grace. Anything less than that is inadequate. Anything less than that has absolutely no value. We're not a perfect church here at Amazing Love Sanctuary. Far from it. We haven't even figured out quite how to define ourselves as a progressive church, progressive Christian. What does that mean? We'll figure it out. And when we do, we'll share it with you. But the truth of the matter is, what's most important is that we create an opportunity here, a place where you can experience authentic, genuine, unconditional love. That's the most important lesson we can teach you. That's the most important thing we can demonstrate. Jesus said it this way: they will know you are my followers by your love. Not by what you believe, how you pray, how you love others, who you love, but how you love each other. And will always be our challenge here at Amazing Love Sanctuary is to demonstrate love, unconditional love, and total acceptance. Now, there are some out there, you may not like it. We're still going to love you. You're still welcome to walk in the doors of this church and sit with us and have a conversation with us, drink a cup of coffee, and let us love you. I know it's a difficult thing and it's a challenge every single day and every single week to be everything that we're trying to be. It's not easy sometimes. Sometimes it's very difficult. But I want to encourage you today to experience divine love, God's love, unconditional love, and open your heart and your mind to be with us as much as possible. And share with us here at Amazing Love Sanctuary every Sunday morning at 11 o'clock. I want to close with a prayer. Lord, help us examine ourselves and see if we are willing to give all for you. Search our hearts and convict us where there is still fear, self-preoccupation, and a lack of trust. Remind us of the value and the importance of loving unconditionally. Remind us of the value and the importance of total acceptance. Remind us of the value and the importance of unreserved grace. Amen. Now may the peace of the Lord Christ go with you wherever he may send you. May he guide you through the wilderness, protect you through the storm, and may he bring you home rejoicing at the wonders that have been shown to you. And may God bring you rejoicing once again into our doors here at Amazing Love Sanctuary. God bless you. Have an amazing and wonderful day. Remember, we're always available for you. If you need us, please feel free to reach out to us and join us here every Sunday. Coffee goes at 10:30, morning worship at 11 o'clock.